Speaking of cool stuff, but more on the funny side of things, I came across this video over on Twitter the other day, and I have to share it because it's hilarious.
Welcome back to Jake G TV News. The average American can't figure out why they feel like absolute trash.
We go live to a triple-boosted science truster who says,
It's just her genetics.
it's just genetic?
Yeah, literally. I never eat red meat. I switched to seed oils only because, health. And here I am.
We're here with a man who's just glowing from head to toe. Sir, what's your secret to your health?
Statins and blood pressure meds. Hold up, I'm about to have a heart attack.
What's your secret?
Just avoid the sun. I have skin cancer. That's why I do this.
Good thing they listen to their doctors. Not much more they can actually do.
True. Let's thank Big Pharma for being the main source of funding of all of our propaganda.
Sponsored by Pfizer, the largest criminal organization to ever do it.
We promised to take the red dye out of the Skittles.
Oh, thank God. Red dye was the real emergency. Let's not talk about the other colors, the fluoride, the chemtrails, and the deadly mRNA altering our DNA. Back to you, Jenny.
Thanks, John. We're here at the local 7-Eleven and want you focusing on what's in the candy. And this way, you won't notice the rising autism and heart disease in children.
Well, autism and child heart disease isn't that big of a deal. It's not like the jab causes turbo cancer or anything. Jessica goes live to find out how to prevent it.
How are we going to prevent cancer?
Do you know how much commission I make off chemo treatment? Next question.
What's the best way to stay healthy in today's world?
The key to getting healthy is lowering your cholesterol. Trust me, I'm a doctor.
Look, just trust your fat doctor. He once watched a 1-hour lecture on nutrition.
You know, it's funny because it's true to an extent, right? There's some hyperbole there, but also it was immediately obvious in May of 2020 that the COVID thing was way exaggerated, way overboard. All I had to do, I know most people will say, Kingswood, how could you say that? Because I actually downloaded the data and I looked at it. The data from the CDC, and I looked at it and I realized that the various columns that are supposed to be additive didn't add up. Like literally, the columns that were like this cause, this cause, this cause, this cause, and the final column was the or statement. So everything that all the previous columns, the final column was an or statement. So all of them should sum up, and it didn't add up. Then I downloaded the data later, and I saw that under their death statistics, a significant percentage of them was where the proximate cause was intentional infliction of self-harm. So they're counting suicides as COVID deaths. I still have those data files I downloaded from the CDC. Wasn't hard to figure this out. All you had to do was have a little bit of skepticism. But, so COVID is obviously false. And now we know that, so which means the injection was obviously unnecessary. And I knew that was immediately obvious too, because within a month of it being rolled out, I downloaded the data from the Vaccine Adverse Effects Reporting System website on the CDC. And I saw that in the previous 40 years, there had been 20 deaths reported there. And within a month of the COVID vaccine being rolled out, there were like 400 or something. Never mind the fact that, so you already knew it wasn't deadly. You already knew the death rate was vastly overblown. And then you see that the shot is killing people. And it's like, okay, well, we're not getting that thing. And then it makes you question everything else, right? So can you wonder, the people are talking about chemtrails. Chemtrails were the stupidest thing I ever heard of. I remember somebody sent me a link to Alex Jones talking about chemtrails. I'm like, dude, that is the dumbest thing ever. Have you never heard of a contrail? It's condensation of water, of ice crystals in the exhaust plume of a jet engine as it's going through the air. It's the stupidest thing ever. Everybody, I was like, no, you guys are retarded. You don't. I'm an engineer. I understand how physics works. This is dumb. Stop it. And then a few years ago, one of the countries in the EU admitted that they were doing that. They're spraying stuff in the air to do what? They admitted to it. Wait. This is the stupidest thing I ever heard, and it's true. Apparently, hardly. And so now people are skeptical about everything. Well, he should be, and and you have RFK Jr. in there now doing his thing at the HHS, hopefully doing some good. And he's, God bless him. I hope he's able to get rid of some of the jackassery that's out there, because it's obviously a corrupt system. I mean, compare the amount of money spent here compared to everywhere else. Compare the amount of administrative hurdles here compared to everywhere else. It's obviously corrupt. There's obviously a whole lot of fingers in the pot that don't need to be there and should just be cut off. That said, somebody shared this the other day. I don't know what the hell Slay News is. I'm not sure. Frank Bergman of Slay News. I don't know who he is. Japan ends mandatory child vaccines. Sudden infant deaths disappear. Color me a little skeptical on this one. Let's see what they have to say. A leading American physician has issued an alarming wake-up call to Western nations by warning that Japan's sudden infant death system crisis disappeared as soon as the government ended the country's mandatory vaccine schedule. Carrying to this person, Pierre Corey, whoever that is, neonatal mortality decreased when the government stopped mandating vaccines for children under 2. He's former chief of critical care at the University of Wisconsin. Okay, cool. During an interview, he says this linked the practice of vaccinating babies in Western cultures to sudden surging SIDS cases. This actually happened in Japan. I guess what happened, infant deaths disappeared when they stopped doing it. Okay. I don't know what Slay News is. But I found this from Reuters from last year, February 13th, 2024, by Reuters Fact Check. Now, anytime somebody says fact check, I am instantly suspicious because it's fact checkers have been shown to be merely political operatives. However, it bears reading. Japan recommends vaccinating infants under 2 years old, according to the Japanese Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare, contrary to claims on social media that these vaccinations have ceased and suggesting a link to the country's long-running decline in sudden infant death syndrome. Posts on various places said SIDS in Japan ceased from the time they stopped vaccinating under 2-year-olds. Now, hold on a second. This was posted last year, but this was just posted this month. I don't know who Frank Bergman is. I don't know what Slay News is, but Reuters was commenting on things that saying the same thing a year ago. Oopsie. SIDS is the unexplained death of a baby who stops breathing, often during sleep. The cause is unknown, but is thought to be related to problems affecting automatic brain functions like breathing and waking, according to the U.S. National Institute for Child Health and Development. Recent respiratory infection is also seen as being... Anyway, the Japanese Immunization Act was amended in 1994 to scrap mandatory vaccines. However, the Japanese Pediatric Society still recommends them. The local governments also pay for vaccines. Pediatric Society is scheduled for the first 3 months as... recommended things. Japan records high rates of vaccinations for children per year. Data report that 96 to 99% of babies get their vaccines from 2 to 4 months. Rate of infant death fell by half between 1984 and 2004. And when was that? The Immunization Act was amended in 1994. Okay. Decreasing from 0.242 deaths to 0.24 according to a study. They credited the decline of the public health campaigns starting after 1996 that discouraged putting infants to sleep face down and other SIDS risks, such as maternal smoking. Rates of SIDS in Japan continued to fall. They're now at 0.1 per 1,000 in 2018, according to Tokai University. The overall mortality has been declining. There were 47 deaths in 2022. Some studies in other countries have found that unvaccinated infants are at risk of SIDS. Okay, look. So the verdict that Reuters came up with last year was that false. Japan does recommend vaccinations. It's just not mandatory, and there's no evidence of a link. So I am, always skeptical of fact checkers. But I'm also skeptical of, alarmist places that I don't know who the hell they are. I mean, well, let's see. Who is about Slay News? Who the hell is Slay News? An independent media outlet providing truthful reporting, free and open exchange of ideas. With that foundation, the unwavering belief in the greatness of America, Slay News of America. Slay News has quickly grown to an international news company. Cool. Unapologetically pro-America and pro-free speech. I agree with both those things and stands by a pledge to put our people corporate beliefs. Okay. When they fast-growing alternative media companies promises to always prioritize the most valuable asset, our readers. Well, you know what? The fastest-growing alternative media companies. I never heard of these guys until a link was passed to me. So, then again, I'm not. I am not the end-all, be-all of, news organizations and who's big and who's not, and oh my gosh, but you gotta take things with a grain of salt here, guys. It's sometimes.